They mocked her name, dismissed her presence, and laughed as if she'd vanish in shame. But what they never expected was that the woman they called a nobody would one day control everything they thought they owned and make them beg for mercy under the spotlight they stole from her. I wasn't expecting a celebration. It was just my 46th birthday, and candles or cake had never meant much to me. But I didn't expect to be humiliated either. Not by my wife, not by my daughter, not in my own home. The dining room smelled of overpriced takeout. Lisa had ordered some kind of fusion food from a place I couldn't even pronounce. She poured herself and her friend's expensive wine, laughing like she hadn't done in years. I stood by the window, sipping flat soda, and wondered when I had started to disappear inside my own house. No one offered me a glass. No one even acknowledged that the day meant something to me. Lisa's new friends didn't know me. She hadn't introduced me, not properly, just nodded in my direction and went back to her conversation. I stayed quiet. I had gotten used to the quiet, but nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Madison, our 17-year-old daughter, was seated with her friends near the far end of the table, tapping away on her phone. One of them leaned over and whispered something while pointing at me. Madison giggled. "Wait, is that your dad?" One of them asked loud enough for the room to hear. Madison didn't hesitate. She smirked. "Yeah, that's him. He fixes toilets for a living. That's what makes him a man." Laughter erupted. Hers is the loudest. I froze. She wasn't embarrassed. She was proud of that jab. She delivered it like a punchline, as if she'd been rehearsing it. And that was the moment, the precise, silent moment, my chest collapsed in on itself. My baby girl, the one who once clung to my neck when thunder rolled through our neighborhood, had turned me into her joke. Then came the final blow. Lisa raised her glass, looked around the table with her signature smirk, and said, "Well, it's time you knew the truth." A man in a designer suit stepped into the room. I hadn't even noticed him enter. Sharp jawline, polished shoes, perfect teeth. "This is Derek. He owns 3 restaurants downtown," she said proudly. "He's more of a man than you've ever been." She didn't stop there. "You were always just temporary." The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was accepted. No one gasped. No one looked at me with sympathy. They just kept drinking, kept laughing. I didn't shout. I didn't flip the table. I didn't cry. I turned around, walked upstairs, and began packing my bag. One duffel. Just the essentials. Wallet, change of clothes, the screwdriver set my father had given me before he passed. No emotion, no hesitation. I could still hear their laughter from below, but it didn't reach me anymore. When I zipped the bag shut and stepped outside into the cold evening air, something strange happened. Peace, real peace. I drove to the park, down by the water, pulled into the empty lot, shut off the engine, let the silence stretch until my thoughts settle. Then my phone vibrated. 29 missed calls. 1 from Madison, 2 from Lisa, 26 from unknown numbers, and 1 from Derek. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I smiled, not out of joy, not from pain, but because I had already decided that they would regret every single word they said tonight. They thought I was nothing. They thought I was done. They had no idea who they had just set free. The first thing I did was turn off my phone. Not because I couldn't face the noise, but because I didn't want their panic to contaminate the silence I had earned. I didn't owe them my attention. That night, I slept in the back seat of my truck, parked outside a 24-hour laundromat on the edge of town. It wasn't warm. It wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. No pretending. No pretending that I mattered to people who discarded me like a scratched lottery ticket. At dawn, I drove to a diner I used to visit before Madison was born. They still offered free refills and didn't rush you out the door. I slid into a corner booth, ordered my coffee black, and watched a steam curl like smoke from a dying fire. I sipped slowly and let the bitterness settle on my tongue. It wasn't about revenge. Not at first. It was about understanding how I got here. Lisa and I met when she was working part-time in a bookstore, and I was doing my plumbing apprenticeship. We dreamed together in cramped apartments with second-hand furniture and empty refrigerators. I promised her that one day, she'd never have to lift a finger. She kissed my forehead and said, "Just don't forget who believed in you when you had nothing." I didn't forget. She did. Over the years, I built a plumbing business from nothing. I worked double shifts, skipped vacations, skipped birthdays, skipped breathing. I paid off her car, paid for Madison's private school tuition, bought the house and remodeled the kitchen she bragged about to her friends. And still, to her, I was just a placeholder, a phase, a temporary man with a wrench in his hands and dirt under his nails. But there's something poetic about plumbing. It teaches you how to move through filth and come out clean. I opened my laptop and connected to the diner's weak Wi-Fi. I began researching quietly. Lawyers, not just for divorce, but ones specializing in reputation management and financial exposure. Forensic accountants, reputation specialists, private investigators. I bookmarked a firm run by a man named Yusef, former law enforcement, now a cleanup expert in domestic warfare. His specialty? Clean burnouts, high-value takedowns with precision. Lisa thought I was gone. She thought I'd crawl back, maybe beg. She probably told her friends I was sulking in a cheap motel, hugging old wedding photos and crying into fast food wrappers. She had no idea I was preparing something far more permanent. I messaged Yusuf through an encrypted client portal and told him exactly what I needed. No drama, no confrontation, just the truth. He accepted the job within the hour. His first assignment? Derek. 3 days later, I got the first batch of evidence. Derek wasn't just cheating with Lisa. He was cheating on Lisa. There were photos, dozens, hostesses, interns, a waitress he harassed until she reported him, receipts, text messages, video stills. One of them showed Derek kissing someone behind the alley of one of his restaurants. Time-stamped. Yusef had included financial reports. Derek's empire wasn't built on success. It was built on credit, unpaid taxes, and lies. One of the restaurants was built illegally on rezoned property. Derek looked rich because he owed everyone. I paid Yusuf double and forwarded all evidence to a tax lawyer, anonymously. I also sent a tip to the local business newspaper and CC'd Lisa's name in the subject line, just subtle enough to link her as a domestic partner and financial beneficiary. The goal wasn't to destroy Derek. It was to cause Lisa collateral damage. Let them laugh now. Meanwhile, Madison kept posting videos of shopping sprees, TikTok with Derek at luxury malls. New dad better than old one, she wrote, all while using credit cards still in my name. I didn't block the cards. Not yet. I wanted them to get comfortable, build routines, feel untouchable. Then during a dinner at a high-end steakhouse, I pulled the plug. All credit lines frozen. The manager snapped a photo as Lisa and Derek argued with a waiter about the bill. That photo showed up on Yelp 2 days later with the caption, "Couple throws tantrum after card declined." The woman screams, "My husband will pay." Spoiler alert, he didn't. And I just kept sipping coffee, watching it unfold from my little booth. The taste of justice? A little bitter like burnt espresso, but deeply satisfying. Let them laugh. Their jokes were writing my victory speech. 2 weeks passed without a single word from me. No texts, no calls, just silence. It was intentional, controlled, a vacuum that let their guilt echo louder and louder until it became deafening. Lisa hadn't filed for divorce. Maybe she assumed I would. Maybe she hoped I'd come crawling back with apologies and regrets. Instead, I was orchestrating something colder, something she couldn't anticipate. Yusef called with updates like clockwork. Derek's empire was unraveling. The restaurant loans had strings tied to shady investors. Their books were riddled with discrepancies. Payroll taxes are missing. Licenses expired. Health code violations caught on security cameras. One location was already flagged for closure. The evidence was overflowing. Yusef even dug up old lawsuits. Derek had settled quietly. Non-disclosures signed. Payouts buried. But the truth has a funny way of finding light when the right hands open the blinds. I funneled documents to the IRS, the local news, and even a food critic blog that loved a juicy scandal. They all bit. Then came the day I had been waiting for. Lisa and Derek stood at the bank, confused and growing angry. Their joint account had been drained. The banker, calm and clinical, explained that Lisa had never been a primary holder. The assets were legally protected and inaccessible. She protested, demanded, and threatened. It didn't matter. The paperwork had been flawless. My lawyer had ensured it. As they left, furious and defeated, they returned home to find a city notice stapled to the front door. Unpaid taxes. Pending seizure. Lisa tore it down in rage. Madison ran out of the house, shouting about the internet not working. Netflix was gone. The utilities I had once paid for had all been transferred, then disconnected. Every convenience vanished. That night, I received an email from the IRS. Investigation launched. Derek's social security number flagged. Lisa's name was tagged as a co-conspirator. Within 48 hours, a headline exploded across local media. Restaurant mogul investigated for fraud. Live-in girlfriend under scrutiny. A photo of Lisa, stunned and mid-sentence. Front and center, her workplace responded immediately. Suspension. Review pending. Her Instagram lost hundreds of followers by the hour. Her social circle thinned. Comments vanished. Likes disappeared. Even Madison's TikToks, once smug and flashy, were flooded with hate. Entitled, "Spoiled, Cruel." Then came the video. A YouTube creator had received the party footage from a mutual friend. They pieced together the dinner, added the screenshots, and layered the audio. The title? A cheating wife humiliates her husband at his birthday. But he got the last laugh. Over 1 million views in days. Madison's outburst was clipped and looped. Lisa's wine toast immortalized, comment after comment. Cheered me on. Said I was a legend. Called me a ghost who turned into a storm. Lisa called me 28 times. Left a message. I don't know what you've done. Please, we need to talk. You're ruining our lives. I didn't reply. I sent her a photo instead. The one from our anniversary. She had raised a glass. I was smiling. My message read, "You toasted to freedom. Now drink it to the last drop." A week later, I showed up at the house. The movers had taken everything I legally owned. The couch, the TV, even the router. Lisa sat on the floor, eyes hollow. Madison was upstairs, sobbing about someone calling her a bully online. Derek had disappeared, filed for bankruptcy, left no forwarding address. I stood at the threshold, calm, sharp in a black coat. I didn't say a word. I held up a small velvet box. It was the wedding ring she once threw in the sink. I'd fished it out and kept it. I placed it on the table. Then I handed her a folded piece of paper. A check, exactly $1. She stared. What is this? Your share. After taxes, legal fees and damages. She opened her mouth, but I turned and left. Just before I shut the door, I said, "You once said I was temporary. Now you're the one left behind." 1 year later, the cabin smelled of pine and fresh coffee. The lake shimmered in the morning sun. I stood barefoot on the porch, the breeze against my face. My phone buzzed. A final message from Yusuf. Lisa. Part-time diner job. No address. Derek vanished. Madison moved out. Estranged. I felt nothing. No anger. No joy. Only peace. Inside, the walls held no shadows of the past. Just photos of the present. My brother. A handshake with the CEO of a major engineering firm. A smiling selfie with someone new. Someone real. In the drawer was a letter from Madison. Apology. Regret. I hadn't answered. Maybe one day. For now, I had earned silence. I had earned sunrise. I had earned the right to be free of their noise. They thought I was a nobody, but I was the man who rose from the rubble, and I never looked back. Moral and life lessons. Never let others write your story. Just because someone sees you as insignificant doesn't make it true. Your voice, dignity, and self-worth aren't defined by the people who try to silence you. Betrayal hurts, but silence and strategy win wars.